Hi, folks. Larry Rolla here. I have my phone shut off, so I'm going to keep the comments on. So if I'm not coming through or something's wrong, just write in the comments that if there's a problem, because I shut my phone off. Because every time I leave it on, it freezes or whatever. So if somebody just write in that everything is fine, so I know it's okay. Anyway, I'll be on alone tonight because there's a lot of things that I want to say, and I hope you all stay with me for a while because this is really not my gig. And as you know by now, I go all over the place, and there's a lot of important things I want to say. Well, first of all, you're going to have to excuse me for bouncing around because they have that tumor that's wrapped around the nerves coming out of my spine. It's extremely painful. So I'll be bouncing around even though I'm on triple medicine to try to take care of it. I'm going for an epidural tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. Hopefully that'll help. If not, I'm sure the epidural will help. If not, after that, it'll probably be shock treatment because my friend Sal, our friend Sal, he went for that because he was in bad shape too, and it helped a lot. So the last thing will be an operation, but it's I feel bad for them people that have this problem. Boy, it's tough. But anyway, so excuse me for bouncing around like this, but there's a couple of things I want to say. When you're in a horse business, I've been in a horse business basically my whole life. My whole life is 100 miles an hour, all over, always doing something. And when I got in the horse business, I just zeroed in on that, and you almost become oblivious to the world outside the horse business, and that's what happened. That's what happened to me for a while, and then little by little things happen that bring you back to reality. Like that one time I told you about Gillis, the groom. That was a good groom and best groom I ever had. And he used to show up late, maybe once every 2 months. But every time he showed up late, it was on a bad day. And I went to him one day and I says, Gillis, if you want, I'll, you gotta show up. And he says, well, I leave the house at 3 o'clock. He says, if I get a ride, I'm on time. If I don't get a ride, I walk. It's 18 miles. In my mind, everybody in the world had a car. I didn't realize it. And so sometimes a lot of things get away from you. And then, you lay in a hospital 14, 15 days straight, just laying in a bed. They got you sedated so you don't feel that much pain. And you start thinking about all the injustices. Now, don't get me wrong, it is the best country in the whole world, by far. But just like anything else, there's a couple of things that are not injustice, and then there's people in the country that take advantage of the liberties and hurt other people. And that's what I want to talk a little bit about, because when I was in Hackensack Hospital, the Hackensack Hospital is a 501c3. And that means it's a nonprofit organization. And there's 5 people that run it. Their salaries combined are over $20 million a year. And I'm laying there. And the guy next to me is dying, but he could be saved, but he don't have the money for the drug that he needs to go home. And on and on and on and on. The whole hospital is full of that. It's terrible. I got lucky because I'm over the age and I have hospitalization, whatever you get when you're 65. But when I pick up my medication, it says $780, but I only pay 45. And there's 3 or 4 packages like that that I need. Now, what about the people that don't have, that are not that age and don't have the money? How do they do it? I have to stop. I have to stop thinking about that stuff. It's crazy. All the injustices that, why instead of these people that take $20 million a year combined, why don't they just give up a few million each and make available some of the drugs for that particular hospital? So instead of making $7 million a year, you make $6 million a year or $5 million a year, and make them drugs available for just that one particular hospital for people like that need it so bad. It was so, and like I said the other day, I'm in pretty bad shape, but I was the healthiest guy in the whole hospital. It's sad. It's so sad. It just injustice after injustice after injustice, and the whole thing, not the whole thing, but much of it is one big contradiction. You know, it's just tough. It's just almost like a lack of fairness. And then what happens is even the doctors that take the oath to do this and this, there's certain rules and regulations that they have to abide by. You know, just like they kept me in there the last 7 days, they finally figured out the right prescription, the right recipe, all these drugs that I have to take to keep me kind of stable so I can function. And then when they send you home, you can't take that with you. They says, go find a surgeon that, you know, we have a policy, we can only give you a 5-day supply. And I you know, it's not my game, and maybe it has to be that way. And I'm sure probably if I was running a hospital, I would do it the same way. You know, I don't know. All I know is that it's just, there's a lot of unfairness. Not only that, but today talking about unfairness and everything on Facebook today, I spot this picture. I'm going to show you. I spotted this. Now, this guy here, Anthony Graffia, he's my cousin. He's my cousin, and he was in a luncheonette having lunch when 2 guys come in and shot him. One guy come in and shot him to death, and they wind up catching the guy, and he went to jail about the same time Tannenbaum threw me out of a racetrack for something I didn't do. And the injustice there, just to give you an example, is that kid got out of jail for killing a cop 1 year before I was reinstated in New York racetracks. Now, how the fuck do you figure that? So I mean, I don't want to make this about me, because it's not about me. It's about the whole injustice. It's just not fair. And then you see like I'll go into like with the cancer bit. They stuff out there that it's only right now that they're starting to test ivermectin. After the whole world was I mean, the government, all these private organizations, they were getting embarrassed by. And I even told the doctor, my doctor, I says, how could you walk in every day and do the same thing, and you just, but they, you know, they have to do what they have to do, and things I don't understand. And I just talked about this the other day. A friend of mine made a movie, Once Upon a Time in Queens. Paul Savino was the star. Paul Savino, Chaz Palminteri, and Michael Rappaport. And they asked me to do him a favor because Paul Savino's wife, Michael, son, had a part in the movie, a pretty big part. He was all excited about it. Now he's the brother of Mia Farrow, Mia Savino, who won the Academy Award and everything else. So it's a pretty prominent family and all talented. And he was very, very, very excited. And they asked me to go pick him up. And he was all excited. He had a big part in the movie and everything. And then we get there. And then the director or whoever it was, they say, look, we're switching. We're we're going to cut this part. We're going to give you this part, and that guy's going to play your part. And the kid Michael, he was so distraught. He was sick. He wanted to cry. So I go to Paul Savino, and I says, "What are you going to do about this? You're the star of the show. Why don't you just tell him, leave it the way it is? How the fuck could you go on? How could you just let that happen?" And he says, "Well, we'll make it up sometimes." And that's when I lost a little respect for Paul. Because I wasn't raised that way. There's a lot of stuff, like even even in our business, even our business. That kid that killed the cop, my cousin, he spent less time in jail for killing a New York cop than I did for an accusation by Tannenbaum that wasn't even true. Now, you go into the real world outside the horse business, or even within the horse business, and you see, and I remember, like, in the horse business, years and years and years ago, they come up with magnets, bell boots with magnets in them. They're going to help the horse's feet. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. They're going to do this. Well, it's true. They do help, but so now everybody jumps on that bandwagon. Now I jumped on it too because it made sense. Magnets, iron in the blood, everything attracts, brings it here, and a lot of the science behind it made sense. So I bought a couple of pair, and I found out that the ones that came from Germany had very, very strong magnets in them. The ones that came from the United States by these people that scam and make a living, and I guess they're scammers. I don't know, because the magnets that they put in were 1/100th the strength of the magnets that were in the bell boots from Germany. So they were completely useless, but they sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of pairs. And this is the stuff that goes on, and then it goes into the medical field where they have the ivermectin and everything. Now the ivermectin you can buy online. 99% of it is bootleg. It's bootleg bullshit. It don't do nothing. And yet they got everybody hopped up but and then the government don't make it available. But the scientists and everybody else, researchers, and Joe Rogan exposed a lot of it. But the government don't make it available. They just don't make it available. It's the same thing: chemotherapy, radiation, and operation. That's it. That's been that way for 150 years. In 1971, alternative therapies were 1% of the practice here. Everybody thought you were a quack if you ever mentioned it. And today it's probably 80, 90%. And if the government gets out of the way, and lets the free market handle this stuff, a lot of things could be changed. And I'm sure they will in time. But there's always scammers out there, even in our business, even in the horse business. Look, there is nobody probably listening here today, and maybe in the whole country, that's been through what I've been through in my life since I was a kid. And I'm not saying that bragging or nothing. I'm just saying that I did what I did, and I walked in the lion's den many, many, many times, either to defend myself or to help a friend. Showed up all the time. And years back, that kind of worked. Today, and there's a few even in the horse business. Today, you have these smooth talking heat merchants that have no life. They have nothing else to do except try to con people or brainwash people or try to get something going or try to make themselves relevant in some way. And they're like bottom feeders, where and I just don't understand how a lot of these things that are going on today with these scammers years ago could never happen in the world that I grew up in. Uh, they, they would be handled. They would be approached, and they would say stop. And if they didn't stop, they'd be handled with, and it would go away. There's blocks. I'll give you one example because he's a good friend of mine. He just passed away recently, but Tough Tony from in Corona. Corona's a pretty used to be Italian area. It's a pretty bad area now, but he has that place, his restaurant there, Parkside, and right across the street is Spaghetti Park. Tough Tony, he could leave $10 million on the benches in the park and go there the next morning and not one penny would be missing. Because they didn't tolerate nonsense and bullshit. And none of that was allowed. There's people around today that get away with and that's all the bottom feeders. They have nothing else to do. They have no life. They scam people on the internet. They rob people. They're just the worst. And there's one or two in the horse business that despised by everybody, but they eventually get found out. And one particular hopped on me for a while, but my whole life there was nothing to hop on. My whole life was an open book. Look, up until 1978. Up until 1978, there's nobody in the horse business that did what I did. I got away with it. The reason I got barred for life 2 times was not because I got caught doing the things that I did at the biggest racetracks in the country with the biggest jockeys in the country. I got barred for failing to cooperate during investigations. They just called me in and they wanted me to rat on whoever, and I just refused to cooperate. And because of that, it cost me hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend myself. In the meantime, that scumbag who shot my cousin is out of jail. And it's tough to walk down the street and let him pass you. It's these things are tough, and they bother me. They bother me a lot. And in 1978, everything that I did, and I have to say this, I'm sure in my quest to try to stay alive and because of my addiction, I'm sure that probably 1 or 2 people got hurt. But you got to remember, I was dealing with bad guys, but I never ever hurt any individual on purpose. Never ever. I only helped, and the people that know me know that. And that's why today I have all what happened in the last week, the amount of people that called me and wished me well and everything else. And that's why, because they knew I had an addiction. They knew I was in terrible, terrible trouble, but I lived through it. I faced it. I got over it. And in 1978, I went 100% straight. And I did everything in my power to help the horse business, everything, and help the people in the horse business that needed help. And the only reason I'm out of the horse business is because they closed the Meadowlands, the barn area. I live right there. It just became a hassle. Plus, when you get barred for years at a time, for life, your reputation is gone. And my reputation, between the business falling apart and my reputation. So what owner is ever going to give me a horse? So it was tough, but I got a few of my own and I was doing all right and everything. But it's when you sit back like I'm doing now, like I don't have much to do except I'm working on that horse, that cooling cap that's going to really help a lot of horses. I did nothing from 1978 until today, but help horses. And if this cap works, I'm going to wind up saving a lot of horses' lives, thousands every year. And yet there's people that have things to say that they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about, and they get away with it. They get away with hurting a lot of good people with their nonsense and bullshit just in an effort to try to be relevant. And thank God, thank God, between the law, the government, the cops, harness track security, and all that, a lot of them are starting to be found out now. And hopefully someday all of these bottom feeding scumbags will be out of the game. What bothers me is that in this, if there's a problem, you could it could be easily solved. Like if somebody sells you have a sister, somebody sells a handbag and it says it's real, it's $1,000. Your sister pays it, and then she shows you it's a fugazi. You go to the guy and you shove the bag down his throat and you take the money back. That don't happen today. All of these fucking people, these heat merchants that years ago, today they call them heat merchants. Everything got a fancy name. Years ago we called them scumbags, jerk-offs, bad people. But what followed that was a fucking beating, where you didn't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about it. You solved the problem. But today they don't do that. They just let it go on and on and on, and it gives these fucking heat merchants the power. Like who the fuck you like they have power. I just don't understand it. So it's a situation that comes up when like I said, when you're laying in bed just thinking about the people that scam, the people that work so hard, and everybody, and not everybody, but many people, including myself, got ripped off. Their identity got ripped off. I remember Warren DeSantis, my friend, he passed away. He lost millions of dollars, identity theft, and this happens, and that's what's going on now. It's terrible. I don't know how to stop it. I don't know how to stop it. If it's kind of local, I could tell you one thing. If it's kind of local and it was around my neighborhood, it could never happen. You get one of these fucking bottom feeding scumbags that wants to start trouble and cause with people just to try to be relevant because they got nothing going in their fucking life. That guy he'd have a fucking major problem. But they don't do that no more. And whether they're afraid of getting arrested, whether they're afraid of this, because now every one of these fucking bottom feeders, they're like these lawyers, they're ambulance chasers. Every one of these kind of people, they're wearing wires. They're all wired up with mics and this and that, and then they try to intimidate you. Well, I got no problem with that. I got no problem. I got no fucking problem because you fuck with me. Look, I've been through a lot. And I took the fucking heat. Me getting fucking beatings. I got beatings, and I took the beatings because I deserved the beatings. But when you fuck with me, and I don't deserve it, you got a major fucking problem. And I lived through many of them in my life too. So, and I'm not a tough guy. I'm just a guy that just be fair. What's right is right. And I think I deserve the right to have a second chance in fucking life. From 1978 until today, I did nothing wrong. And prior to that, I did everything wrong, but I never hurt one individual on purpose. I did what I had to do to save my life and save my mother's life. That's what I did. And that's what I did. I got nobody else involved but myself. $15,000 a fucking week I had to pay from 71 to 78. And I paid it. And I got the money the only way I could. I did it. I did what I did. The whole fucking world knows about it. It's in all the newspapers and everything else. And that was it. At the biggest racetrack. I admit it. I did it. I did it because I had to do it to save my life and my mother's life. Because my mother was threatened. So anyway, I just don't understand. I don't understand how why more can't be done to help the people that really need it. they mentioned they did a tribute for me. We mentioned this the other day, but I don't know how to bring certain points across, like give you analogies, and so I got to repeat certain things. Like when we went out one night, there was a story that was told of me that we all went out. The check come, I picked up the check, and I says to the waitress, "Well, what a beautiful little girl. What are you doing out working on a Friday night? You should be out with the boyfriend or something." She says, "Well, my husband left me. I have 2 little kids at home and everything else." And the check come, I left her. I think it was a $2,000 tip. I just took here. Good luck. I wish I can give you more. And that's the life. That's the world I lived in. I'm not used to all this other fucking bullshit. I'm just not used to it, and I'm glad. I tell you, I'm glad. I lived my life. I lived a good life, and in the end, it is very near and very close, and I'm fine. And I'm fine with that because there's nothing else. If they says you have one more year and you got $100 million, I give the $100 million away. I did everything I ever wanted to do, so I'm not worried about that. I sit here and think not about myself, because myself is myself. It is what it is with me, and that's fine. That's the end result. But what about these people that really fucking need it, and these people that their husbands leave them, and they have the kids, and they got to work 3 jobs. It's terrible, and you realize that. I never realized none of this because my whole life was, like I said earlier, 100 miles an hour. I go 100 miles an hour, and so I never had time to do this. I was so wrapped up in the horses. From 70 to 78, I was fighting to save my life, and I did everything I could, but I was still learning. And after that, I did everything I could to try to help the sport, and that's what I wanted to do. And it's funny, but it's funny that a guy born and raised in Queens was so addicted to horses, and I was, and I love what I did. So I wrote a bunch of things down here because I'm not going to keep going over the same thing. I just wanted to I wanted to thank everybody, because even today the phone never stops ringing. And thank you all for your wishes and everything else. And there's no GoFundMe for me. There's none of that stuff. I'll be fine. I don't even know how to fucking thank people, because I never had to ask for it. If I needed it, I went and got it. This is so, it's breathtaking to me what happened. The generosity of people that I haven't seen in 50 years, that the phone never stops. That's why I had to shut it off, because it just don't never stops. And every time it rings, the thing freezes. So I had to shut it off. And it's just never ending. And like I said, there's a couple of guys around that everybody knows that are a lot sicker than me, or maybe the same. And I only hope that they get the same help. And it's not even the help so much. It's that it's so heartwarming to see that people really fucking care. Nice people. But then there's always, like I said, in the business, and especially in this business, because 99% of whoever is listening is in the horse business. But then you have the 1 or 2 fucking scumbags that look to knock everybody down, look to, they just have nothing else. They have no life. And the business is so tough. It's so tough, this horse business. And everybody's trying to do the best that they can, 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, and then you get fucking lowlifes that have nothing to do but wire up, camera up, and try to catch somebody in a fucking lie or something because they don't have no fucking life. What I don't understand is how these people are not eliminated. Because like I said before, the world I come from, and the world the way it should be, is you eliminate them fucking people. And that's all I have to say. I watched a lot of good kids from way back, and it don't only have to be the fucking lowlifes. There were a lot of good kids in the business that that were conned by the racing commission years ago of giving up information, and then they would let them go, and they just double banged them. And I was just going to name, they were two brothers years back that worked for Marvin Proman. That's what happened to them. And so it's not only these, but the racing commission and the cops. They do the same thing, and then they have to hope that they're right. But it's just sad that this, talking about the horse business, the business that we're in, that you work so fucking hard, especially today where there's no more barn areas. You have to ship every place, and then you get a fucking scumbag that has no fucking life, and all he does is look to cause trouble, and it's terrible. And what gets me is that it nobody fixes it. Not only in the horse business that we're talking about right now, but at the hospitals, in every phase of life, nobody fixes the problems that could be easily fixed. In most cases, it could be easily fixed by, but you never heard this kind of shit in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, especially street stuff and businesses. You get paid to fucking visit and you do the right thing. And all you have to do is just be fair. Just be fucking fair and mind your own fucking business. But, maybe there's one or two people in this business that they maybe they have a problem, a mental problem or something. But if that's the case, you put them in a fucking hospital. But you can't allow people to disrespect hardworking people. And like I said, when it comes to me, I've been, since 1978, I've been 1 zillion%. Prior to 1978, my story's right here. The whole fucking world knows it. And it's in all the newspapers. You can Google everything. So there's nothing nobody could say about me. But there's one or two guys around in the business that are just the scum of the earth, have nothing else to do. They have no life, and they're hurting a lot of people. And I only hope that I know how it would be handled if I was involved. I know how it'd be handled. But I'm not involved. I mean, my name is mentioned here and there, but I'm not physically involved, and there's not too much I could do about it from a hospital bed. But I just think the unfairness in everything I do. I just want to be fair, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, once again, I have to thank all these people because I did it the other day. But they just keep, it never stops. It never stops. They're doing so much for me. They don't know what to do for me. And it's really heartwarming. And I don't even know how to respond to it. I just don't. I mean, every fucking phone call I get, how do you say thank you for a guy that wants to send you barrels of food that you haven't seen in 60 years? Folks, I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm gonna be okay. I'm all right. It's just that, and you wouldn't even know that I had a problem if that fucking tumor wasn't wrapped around the nerve coming out of the back of my spine, it's just unbearable. If it wasn't for that, I'd be happy. I'd be in good shape. But I look like a fucking zombie because I can't sleep and everything else. But it's only because of that pain. Once I eliminate that pain, then I'll be normal, and we'll work on the cancer and everything fine. Now, the other thing I want to say before I forget, I'm going for the epidural tomorrow, and then next week, probably the end of next week, I'm going to the Bahamas with Dr. Burton, where they build up your immune system. You all know that story. I'm going to go there probably the end of the month, which is another 4, 5, 6 days, and that's where I'll be. And last night, my friend came over, and he hooked up my little laptop here. So I'm gonna do the podcast with my laptop. I never did nothing like this before, so I hope I could pull it off. But it'll be good because I'll be down there by myself for maybe a month, and it'll be nice. Not only that, but I want to keep in touch with my friends because Eddie and Anthony and Joe and Sal, and they have major health problems themselves. And like I said the other day, that's the problem. It's great to get to meet up and hook up. It's great, but the things that you wind up talking about when you wind up talking about the good times are the things that are current, and it's not nice. It's not nice. It's sad, and it's tough to follow. So the first time in my life, it's just sad. It's so sad, and I don't know how to handle it now because all my friends. I have to call Anthony. Anthony today went at 3:00. He went to get some tests to see, major problems, major problems in major areas. And his brother, they work for me. Dominic, they took a ton of fluid out of his lungs. They can't find out what's wrong. Eddie is on all kinds of nebulizers. He hasn't left the house in weeks. He's in bad shape, and I mean it's just terrible. That's what I mean. But I guess that's life. You can't even say it's injustice because that's life. So it's bad enough that you got to live through them days, and then on top of that, you got people trying to scam you in calling names and trying to make trouble for other people that are working so fucking hard. And there's certain things the law could take care of. There's certain things that lawyers could take care of, and there's certain things that a fucking baseball bat can take care of. And if that was the case, there'd be a lot less of this bullshit that goes around. Like, do you know how hard it would be when that kid got out of jail that shot my cousin? He has my cousin's other brother was Pete Graffia, and he's the one that gave me the job when I was really fucked up. And when the guy got out of jail, I can't get into that. But the guy ain't around no more. But he served less time in jail than I spent out of New York tracks, and that's the kind of injustice that I mean. Now, whatever it was, if I was involved, I always took care of it. And when it comes, and that's kind of bullshit. That's kind of kid shit. All of I hit you with a bat and this and that. But so that's what you did. You taught a guy a lesson. It's not like today. Oh, please stop. Please don't do that no more. Oh, I heard that you called my daughter a whore. Yeah, okay, yeah. That fucking guy be in the trunk of the car for about 3 weeks before I let him out, and then it don't happen again. You just solve the problem. You don't let it go on. Today, everything you let it go on and on and on and on, and everything is sweetheart and everything. I can't live in a world like that, and I sure hope that it makes a reverse because it's heading that way. Now, so anyway, when I get to the Bahamas, I'm going to try to do the podcast from the Bahamas. My friend says I might need a booster or whatever, but I'm gonna try it. And if I get lucky down there, I'll have a nice Hawaiian girl sitting at my side, or maybe some coconuts or something. But so I just want to let you know. And most of all, I have to again thank everybody that called and helped. And I just want you to know I appreciate it more than ever, especially because I'm not used to this kind of stuff. I'm not used to waking up and having a multitude of problems with no way to go. And all of a sudden, an hour later, a bunch of friends walk in and every problem is solved. And it was solved while you were sleeping. It's just unbelievable. So anyway, that's it. We'll go to some of these questions here and talk about whatever you want to talk about. Let me just readjust this thing. I'm sitting on a bunch of pillows. Oh God. I hope everybody's all right. I'm having, by the way, it's confirmed, I'm having a meeting Tuesday night with some investors that might invest in my movie. So that looks good. I did a little 5-minute video synopsis of it, the opening scene. So we'll see what happens. That would be nice because it'd take my mind off of all this, because the only thing I have going is this cap that I'm working on. And well, I'm going to have to delay the test now because I have to go to the Bahamas. But right after I come back from the Bahamas, we're all set up to test the cap with the veterinarian. It's going to work because I already tested it. And then from there, we're going to save a lot of horses. And what I'm going to do when I'm ready is I'm going to put a website, and I have a whole website telling everything. It's going to be probably 30, 40 pages of references and everything else from everything that I dug up, and why heat is heat and humidity is such a killer to racehorses. And I explain why. I give examples. I have videos. I do it all. And that's what we're going to be doing. It's going to be a lot more interesting later on once I get back. We'll get into a lot of stuff, and I'll put all this information up, and the shows will be a lot more interesting. I really appreciate the people that come on and listen to this nonsense we have kidding around. Just all our guys, and it's good. I'm glad you showed up. Okay, let's go to some of these things, and let me say hello to these people. Getting busy here. Ugh. Okay, here we go. Michael, good evening, everybody. Good to see you again, Larry. Good to see you, Michael. Thanks for showing up. Steve Wing, it's good. All good. And that's in reference to when I said before, if I didn't know, because I shut my phone off. So everything is good. So that's good. Okay. Gordy. That Gordy? Jordy. Hi, Larry. Hi, Gordy. Okay. Vincent. Hi, Larry. My prayers are with you for a speedy recovery. I am well. We will get lunch when you are feeling better. Okay. Okay, Vincent. And I hope you're okay, too. Hey, look, I'm 85 years old. I lived a good life. I had a good life. I feel terrible. I even have a problem now because when I called up the Bahamas, I was responsible for that place being there. But Dr. Burton died, and he told Dr. Clemens, who took over, who I was, and that's why I was able to bring anybody down and get them in, because it's impossible to get in because they can only handle 100 people every 6 weeks. But when I called up, the new doctor that's there, because Clemens died, he says we don't take stage 4 cancer. And like I said the other day, okay, fine, I understand that. I don't want to take somebody's spot. I don't want to take a guy who's 30 years old or 20 years old and has a family that has stage 3 cancer that could easily be saved by Dr. Burton's methods, and bring in an 85-year-old who has stage 4 cancer. So, but while I was in the hospital, my friends called up and told them that, you know who this guy is that you just turned away, and they got me in there, and I have mixed feelings. I'm taking somebody's spot. I'm 85. I mean, it'd be like, it'd be like walking into a room. There's two people in a room, me and another guy. There's one shot to save your life. One guy's 30 years old with 3 kids and a wife, and the other guy's 85 years old with nothing. How the fuck can I take his spot? That's it's not fair. And my whole thing is fair. So they try, and that's another thing. See that I get in these spots just like that, just like when in 1984 when I lost my license. There was 6 guys, including Stanley Danson and Charles Slutsky, that helped me from 78 until 84. They got me horses. Before you know it, I had close to 100 horses. I bought a barn for $1 million that in Sunshine, I think it's Sunshine, I don't even remember. I was doing very, very well, on my way and happy and everything else. And then all of a sudden they had this big investigation, and you wind up lost everything. And these people now they wanted me, my owners, come to me, who had millions of dollars invested in me, and not only that, but from 78 till 84, we became good friends. We became very good friends. I was close with Larry Kadish and Alan August, who was a billionaire. He gave me opportunities like crazy. And they said to me when they called me in, and I wasn't even in a race that they were investigating, but you know the story. I'm not going to go through the story again. But I wasn't in the race. But they asked me about the race, and I just says I refused to answer any questions. I wasn't in the race. I wasn't here. I wasn't. I have no horses on the ground. I wasn't ready. I'm not asking no questions. You're not fucking trapping me. I said, leave me alone. I've been through enough in my fucking life since 1959. Just leave me the fuck alone. And they didn't like that answer. They says that you have a license is a privilege, and one of the rules is that you have to, if we're having an investigation, you must cooperate or you're barred. And they barred me. Now when they barred me, my owners, who had all this money invested in me, and I had everything going and on my way, they come to me and they says, you got to give these guys up, because they did come to me while I was in the dining room, and they did come to me because they fixed the last race trifecta, and they says, Larry, you're going to be here, and I says, yeah, and I didn't ask for nothing. I didn't want nothing. I was with my mother. I used to take my mother every Sunday since my father died to the racetrack for lunch. So he says, yeah, if you're going to be here for the last race, yeah, and he put a piece of paper on. He says, yeah, bet this. These are the kids that growing up, I did things with, and I made them a lot of money. And I guess they want to reciprocate many, many years later. I didn't want it. I didn't need it. But they called me in for that race, and I wouldn't say, and I lost everything. And Alan August, and my owners, Larry Kadish and Big Willie and Aaron, and they says, listen, get a hold of each of these guys. We put up $1 million. There's 4 of them that I had to give up. Give them $250,000 each. These guys, in the last couple of years, filed for income tax for $12,000 a year. They're penniless. They're all, and it's true. They wouldn't make $250,000 probably in their lifetime. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it, and I wind up losing everything. Now I don't even know why I began this story, but that's what I mean. I go off on these fucking rants. Eric, God bless you. God bless Larry. Yeah, thank you. Another thing that this thing did for me, and I know that Cookie's watching because I saw her name. Another thing that this thing happened, what happened to me to make me realize that there's a lot of good people out there, is that in my whole life, I never, ever, and there's a lot of people on here that work for me, women, and there's a lot of people that know me. I never said the word love in my life, because to me that word love is so diluted in many ways, especially when you spend 3-4 years in Hollywood, because I love you, everything is I love you. In the meantime, the guy's fucking the other guy's wife, but I love you. It's so, to me, it's diluted. And we had this conversation last night over the phone with Charmin, because I had to thank her so much for everything she did for me. And she says, we do it because we love you. Why don't you ever admit? And I told her, I says, listen, everybody that knows me knows if they ever need anything, I don't care what, and I don't care what it is. They know that they have one phone number in their phone book that they could call and the problem be solved. I don't care what it is. It'd be solved. And that phone number is mine. So I don't have to say I love you. All you have to know is that I'm there. And if I didn't love you, in the real sense of the word, you wouldn't have my phone number. Anyway, I'm starting to get to the point I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. Dave Guy, can't believe your window is open. 20 degrees. I have the windows open here because these pills make me hot, and it's just fucked up. Eric, Larry, how much dollars did the tobacco companies make for decades for killing people with cigarettes addiction? You're right. It's true. It's out now. It's true, and they're doing the same thing now, and it's fucking terrible because one of the things that they're going to inject me with tomorrow is fentanyl, and it's a very good drug. It's a paper, but now they take advantage of it. They buy a kilo of cocaine for $25,000. They cut it in half or they cut it in thirds, and they put a little fentanyl in it and with some other filler, and it has the same effect. But sometimes they put one little capful too much of fentanyl, and it becomes a death sentence for whoever takes it. And that's what's going on. It's all about greed and money, and it's terrible out there. And you don't know what the hell you get, and everything, all of these painkillers and everything else that the kids buy. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to mention no names, but I'll give you an example. When this first happened, and it was getting worse and worse, the pain was getting worse and worse because I have aggressive arthritis in my back. Besides all of that, and what the fuck was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, that's what happens too. I forget. Okay, Gordy, Larry, was he in Port Authority Police? You told me about him when I worked for you. Oh, I didn't even know you were. I don't know who Gordy is, but no, he was a cop. He was a New York City cop. He was. Let me see. Let me get back to him. No, he was shot. He was a cop in New York. He was a New York cop. He was in Delhi having. And no, that's it. He's a regular cop. Good kid too. Good kid. Good family. My family. Pete Graffia, Andrew. They're all brothers. Are good. And he was a good guy. All the rest of them were kind of a little rough and tough because they were all from Brooklyn, and like my cousin Pete, who got me the job, and my uncle Pepe, and they were all hookup mob guys that but respectful and everything else, but just no nonsense, no bullshit. Hey, look, I don't want to mention any names, but I remember when the Waterfront Commission wanted to get the Gigani crew, who are my friends, and everybody knows that, Ralph and Louie, and they ran the waterfront, and the Waterfront Commission come down because there was Maersk Line and Sea Line at Edison on the port, and the fucking port, they were robbing like crazy, and then all of a sudden it stopped when the Gigani crew got there and took control. All of that nonsense stopped. And when the Waterfront Commission come down to try to get the Maersk Line and Sealand to fire them, they said, "What are you, crazy? First of all, it's the kids. It's not. It's the fathers you're after. You're after the chin. You're after Mario. After the kids are doing nothing. They're doing a good job, and not one penny is missing here. We ain't firing them." And I don't even know why I got into that. But anyway, let me go back to these comments here. Okay. Sophie, that's my cousin Cookie. No, he was a patrolman in. Okay, there's the answer. That's my cousin Cookie. No, he was a patrolman in the 106 precinct in Ozone Park. Okay, all right. I didn't know that. I didn't even know that, but I was busy, in the horse business at the time. But I remember because when the kid got out, I was suspended, and I was working with Pete at Maspeth, and when the kid got released. So that was an interesting time. Okay. Gregory, Larry, I have watched every podcast you have done. I am convinced that you could have been the president of the United States if you wanted to be. God bless you. Good luck. Yeah. I wanted to, my mother wanted me to be, my mother wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer. And that's why she named me Lawrence. I wanted a name like Nicky or Johnny or, a real Italian street kid's name. I had to go growing up Lawrence. But the only good thing about that, I recognized I was different from anybody anyway. So why have a fucking neighborhood name? And I was basically a loner, and so nobody bothered me. And my name was Lawrence, and they call me Lawrence, call me Larry. I don't give a fuck. It don't make no difference. But I want, and I feel bad because Cookie and everybody else knows my mother. She was a tough lady, and I was the only thing that she ever failed at. It was me. And I never forget, my sister told me this, that on her dying bed, she come, now I was the oldest, and she says, take care of Lawrence. Make sure you take care of Lawrence. Because she knew that how I was. And what she didn't realize is that, I was changing my life around. And from 78 until today, I'm just a different person. And that's why when I hear that somebody says something bad about me, it's really not right, because I think everybody deserves a second chance, including me. And it's sad that whatever they have to say, it's not like it was years ago. You go find the guy and you say, if you have a problem, and you talk it out, and then you shake hands after it's over, or one guy is left there. And that's what I'm used to. I'm not used to all this other nonsense and bullshit. But anyway. Okay. Yeah, I could have been the president of the United States. All right. Thank you, Greg. Let's see. Hi, Chicky at Sundance. Oh, I guess everybody here worked for me. Hello, Larry and friends. This is heartbreaking to hear. Oh, this is that kid that last week he said the same thing. I don't say it to, I don't know. How can I not go on and thank everybody? How can I not go on, how could I not do what I'm doing and seeing my friends? Now I hate to say this, but I'm not going to say it. But there's a reason why I'm alone tonight. But I'm not going to say it, because there ain't one motherfucker in this world is going to make me do something that I don't want to do, especially if I'm right. And that's just the way it is. And like I said, I walked into a lion's den more times than anybody listening here, whether it was to defend myself or somebody else. And I'm still here, doing things that nobody in the fucking world has ever done. And there's a handful of people in the world that know. And I'm not going to be fucking, especially at my age, there ain't nobody going to tell me what to do, where to go. Nobody. That can't happen. I go on these fucking rants, and all my friends tell me don't do that. I just can't help it. It's how the fuck it's like having a fucking dog, and you raise them for 10 years to be a watchdog, a fighter, and then all of a sudden you want them to be friendly and not bite anybody. How the fuck you do that? And all I want is just be fair, just be nice, just be respectful to everybody. And if somebody has to do with something that you don't agree with, just move away from him. Move away. Go away. Don't hang out with him. Don't. Why wire yourself up with cameras and everything else like a fucking scumbag? I just don't get it. And then the worst part is nobody does nothing about it. I don't know. Okay, let's go. Here we go. Stanley Dancer was a major help to you. Yes, he was. Stanley Dancer got it in 78. I went into Charles Slutsky's office, and I told Charles, because he knew all the trouble I was in. He owned Monticello Raceway, and he allowed Schoolmaker to give me any check I brought to him. He says, just don't bounce any checks. and I'll let Schoolmaker give you, if you want 30, 40,000. And that's what I did. And I started a 3-state kite going back then, where if you had a check from Delaware to Jersey, it took 10 days to clear. There was no computers. There was none of that. And that's what kind of got me by, because as long as you have cash flow, you could. I was paying 15,000, 7,200 to do different guys every week. Vig still owed almost over $800,000, and you do that because you could juggle. You have cash flow, and you just juggle and juggle and juggle, and that's the trap that I was in. And I did what I had to do, but I did it myself. I get nobody else involved. I did it myself, and to put people in the right places, I made very fair deals, very, very fair deals. Everybody was happy, and it just so happened that years later, I found out that Con Norico, the guy who was my guy that got to hold all of these jockeys, was Anthony's uncle, the guy who's on my show, and his brother worked for me. I never knew it at the time because it was before that. I never knew it, and I found out, and then we found. I guess I could say it because it's so. Then we found out that they had. I better not say it. I just, you know what it is. I'm old fashioned. I'm not normal. I have different values and everything, and I just have very, very old fashioned, and probably I got problems, but I just want everybody to respect everybody and to be fair. That's it. Just be fair. Every time I go into a meeting, now, a couple of business deals I was in, I just said, the first thing I said to the tailor says, look, guys, all I'm asking is don't say something that you can't do or you won't do, and neither will I. And we'll have no problem if it don't work out. Whether we're putting up $1 million or $2 million or whatever, and it don't work out, fine. But do what you say. Whatever you say, make sure you can do it. Make sure you do it. Never have a problem. Okay. Grace, that's Cookie's sister, little Gracie. Larry, you are 100% right. It's so frustrating. I remember little Gracie. I'm going to tell you a story. I don't know if she remembers this or not. Little Gracie was married to Joe Knapp. And I was in so much trouble one night, one week. I had to make the payment. I had to come up with 15,000, and I was short. And what happened? The last race at Monticello that I fixed, somebody ran over the money, so I was short because I normally I have the money 2-3 days in advance, but what happened was I sent 3 kids down to the Bahamas, and I had to send some money down with them. So it was sending the kids down for the cancer treatments, and I just got short. So I went to little Gracie. I'll never forget this. And I don't know if she's going to remember this or not, but I says, Gracie, do you have a credit card? And she says, yes. And I says, could you take a cash advance out for 5,000? And this was in the 70s. I didn't know, and she says, I can't. I don't have, the credit line was not that much or nothing, but I did ask her. I did ask because I needed the money for the next day, and I don't know if she remembers that story, but these are my cousins, are the greatest cousins in the world. They are. I remember when I was something happened, and I had a car and I had everything I owned in the car. And I was driving up to Brooklyn. I didn't know where to go, and I get to 70th Street, and I see my cousin. It's little Gracie and Cookie's sister. I see her son Charlie, and I stopped and I said hello to him, and he lived right there. And he says, "Where you going?" I had a cough. I says, "I have nowhere to go. I'm in I have a bit of a problem." They took me in their house and they left me there. They fed me. for 6 months. I stayed in that house. I lived in that house. And Joseph gave me his bed and slept on the couch. Unbelievable. The family that I have is unbelievable. And little Gracie is part of that family. And she has I call her little Gracie. It's crazy because I call her little Gracie, but she has a daughter that looks exactly like Elizabeth Taylor. She is gorgeous, gorgeous. And everybody calls her little Gracie. So I have to call her little Gracie. And then this is Gracie. But anyway, they're just great people. And I know that I could pick up the phone to any one of my cousins, anyone. And they're just regular working people, all of them. And they're just wonderful, wonderful people, wonderful family. Okay, Chris, that's why crime is so bad. The people like you don't patrol the neighborhoods anymore. God bless guys like you, Larry. Oh, it wasn't only me. It was that's how everybody was raised back then. With respect. You know, how the fuck could you get away? How the fuck? I mean, I can't get into that because I get angry. You let these kids, these little fucking punks, get away with everything. I was in California. I think I said this the other day. I was in California about a year ago. I had to get something at the drugstore. The fucking drugstore the shelves were empty, and they had one cage that had stuff in it, and it was locked. And all that was behind it was fucking toothpaste and shit. I said, why even stay open? They said that they have the right to rob $900 worth of shit, so they just let them come in and run out. I said to my friend Pat, I got to get the fuck out of here. I can't stay here. I can't stay here and watch these people that own these stores and watch these kids just run in and run out, and you got to stand there and watch them. I got to go back home. I can't stay here. That's the way I am, and that's why I get frustrated. Okay. Freddie Hudson, when your friends did the tribute to you, you received close to 100 well wishes to you. Well, thank you, Freddie, and thank you for doing that. That was nice, and that was nice. Okay, Tony, Larry, I'm sure you noticed that dirtbags that like causing trouble have nothing to lose. No money, no family, no prospects. Don't let it get you down. It don't get me down. It don't get me down. What gets me down? I understand that they either have a mental problem or they're just bottom feeders. They have nothing else going on in their life. They're not successful. How the fuck can you be 50, 60 years old, live in a fucking one-room shack? You have nothing going for you, and your whole fucking life is just bothering other people. I just don't get it. And then the people that he bothers don't do nothing about it. How the fuck? I guarantee. I don't want to. I can't get into that because I get myself in trouble, and I can't get in trouble because I got to go to the Bahamas. So that's it. Because now we're zeroing in on one particular guy who I know you're talking about, but it's really not fair because I really believe that one particular guy has a mental problem. I really believe it, or he has to be the biggest scumbag in the world. You know, one of the two. And why the fuck you mentioning my name? My whole fucking anything that you could say is right here. It's been there for 50 years. The fuck. But you know, I don't know. They let them get away with this shit. It's just a different world. You know, what are you gonna do? Okay, let's see. Nick Rollo, 6307. When do you go to the Bahamas? I'm getting the epidural tomorrow morning, 7:00. They're picking me up. And then he wants to see me on Tuesday or Wednesday to make sure everything is okay. Tuesday night, I have a meeting with some investors about possibly putting up money to make my movie. And then right after that, I'm going to make arrangements to go down. So I should be in the Bahamas right around the end of the month, in another 5-6 days, I guess. And I know this now. It's going to be like one big fucking party. because all my friends now, everybody's going to come down and stay a week with me and this and that. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be nice. And in the event that I don't know how the treatments go, but in the event that they don't do much on a Sunday or a Saturday, I'll take a flight. It's only 1 hour back to Florida, because I'd love to have lunch with the guys I haven't seen that are on this podcast that live there. I'd love to go and have dinner with them, but they already said that they were going to fly over. So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's nice to be nice. Okay, let's see. Larry, did you happen to know movie director, producer Mark Jones, who just passed away? No, I did not. I don't know much about the movie business. I only been involved in the movie business since I wrote the book, and that was it. But I just was lucky enough to be with all the heavyweights. It's just unfortunate that I got involved when I was one day from receiving $2.5 million. If COVID came busted out the day after I arrived, I was down there to sign the contract. And the contract was for my kind of 2.5% of the budget of the film. The budget was $100 million budget. And when we got there, the fucking airport was empty and not everybody was dying. They shut everything down. If it happened one day later, I'd have $2.5 million. Okay, let's see. Francis, hi Francis. Blessings, champ. Thank you. Greatness is the lives you save. Stay away from those oil drums. Much love. Hello, Francis at Sundance. Hi, Jordy. Oh, they're all friends. Okay, that's good. Let's move down. Who is this? Angelique. Hello, Larry. Hi, Angelique. Okay, they're all saying hello to each other. Let's see this one. I'm well, Jordy. In heaven with my what? I'm well. In heaven. Oh, in heaven with my okay. Let's see this. Lou. Okay, here we go. Mike. Why is Mike Petrelli dedicating his live podcast tonight to Larry? Where is the beef? Why does Mike care? You see, now this is why I was told not to do this podcast, because and I promised a year ago never to mention this guy's name, because this guy is either very, very sick, and it's not fair to crack somebody in the fucking head who has a mental problem, or he's just a real garbage pail piece of shit. And I have to tell you, his own family told me that he robbed his mother and offered me $5,000 to put him in a hospital. And I turned it down. I said, because if he keeps fucking with me, you're going to get the job done for nothing. And it was my friends that stopped me from doing that. Now that it come out, I can't stop myself, because I can't. There ain't no motherfucker like this parasite that's going to stop me from doing a show. That's why I came on tonight, because tonight Gregory Peck had people to come on, and then I got a phone call saying don't do the show because this fucking lowlife is going to do something. I don't even know what the fuck he's going to do. What could he possibly do? Talk about what I did 50 years ago. It's in the fucking book. It's in all the papers. What are you going to do? But I'll tell you one thing. Now that you got me going, I'll tell you one thing. I can't say this because I have to go to the Bahamas. So I don't want to say what I would do, because then it sounds like a fucking keyboard tough guy. But I can promise you this: I'm not a keyboard tough guy. I promise you this. But I can only, I don't know what you're going to say, because that's the message I got. Mike Petrelli is dedicating his live podcast tonight to you. And from what I understand, he says a lot of bad things about me. I don't know. I've been out of action now since 30 years. So I don't know. I don't know. But I can tell you what, I will say this. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. If I didn't have to go to the Bahamas, I would look forward to whatever he's going to do tonight. And if whatever he's going to do, if it's not fair and it's bullshit, I crack your fucking skull and leave you right in the street. That's what I would do. And Joe and all my friends now are going to get mad at me because they told me just forget about him, to forget about his name. I can't do that. I did that one time. And I mentioned it when I got barred in '84. It was Joe Lando that barred me, and he threatened. And how they got me was the girl, the cashier, and the cashier's husband was the one that had a $3 million contract with Monticello Raceway for the new tote machines. And he says, and Joe Lando, who bought the racetrack from Susky, he says to her, if you don't tell me, because I knew her, if you don't tell me that it was Larry that cashed these tickets, you tell me Larry cashed these tickets, we're going to cancel your husband's contract. Now, see, that's another scummy move. So anyway, so we go to court. She has no choice but to testify against me and say, yeah, Larry cashed the ticket. Okay. And so now we leave the courthouse. I lose every fucking thing. I lost everything. With that decision, I lost everything. I lost all my owners. I lost the 7 homes. I lost everything. Now we're standing outside the courthouse, and I'm standing on the sidewalk talking to the lawyer, saying goodbye. And in the parking lot is right behind the lawyer. I'm standing near the curb. And who comes walking down? Joe Landau. And I'm looking at him now. He just take a stance because I'm just going to cold cock him. I don't give a fuck if it was a blind shot or I don't care. I just want to fucking get him down and stomp on him. So I'm lining myself up, and I said, and so the lawyer sees me, and he looks. He sees Joe. He says, "Don't do it! Don't do it! Don't do it!" And the lawyer just pushed himself into me and held me. And the fucking motherfucker got in his car and he drove off. That bothers me till today that I couldn't crack him. That bothers me. And I'm gonna let this fucking Mike Petrelli low life motherfucker dictate what to me. And now I know he's gonna come on. He's gonna come on his show and say, yeah, Larry thinks he's a tough guy. Now, let me tell you something. I'm not a tough guy, but everything I say, I do, and I will crack your fucking head open. And that's a promise. That's a guarantee. Whatever you want to call it, I will crack your fucking head open, and you can bet on that. And if I didn't have to go to the Bahamas, I would have been up there. I'd be up there tomorrow, but I can't because I got to get my shot. Because I think it's more important to try to save my life and help the girl that I've been with for 45 years than go after a fucking scumbag rabid dog like you. So I'm telling you, Michael, I don't give a fuck what you say because my life is an open book and the whole world knows about it. But you are a fucking lowlife. And I'm going to tell you something else. And I wasn't going to say this because I'm not a fucking rat or a stool pigeon. And everybody knows that. But there's a situation with a girl that worked for me years ago. It happened in Goshen. Okay? Now, you're going to deny it and everything else. But you're a fucking pedophile. You're just a bad guy. You're a bad fucking guy. I'm going to leave that statement right there because I don't want even the worst guy in the world to get in that kind of trouble. But you're a bad fucking guy. And also, I think, I don't know for sure, but I think you have 2 or 3, this was last year or the year before, you were charged with sexual assault and all of that shit. I think you were. But this one particular thing happened, and the girl came to me. And anyway, I'll leave that alone. Okay, hello, Steve. Larry, you are quite an inspiration. I hope they can help you. Yeah, I hope they can help me too. I think now, last Tuesday, I committed myself to just go into hospice and die, and because of Cookie. Oh, that's what I started to say. I never said the word love in my life, but when Cookie called me and made me change my mind, she says, "Please don't do it." It was the first time I told her this. I just it just come out. It just come out. I says, "Cookie, I love you," and I changed and I canceled that hospice thing, and now I'm going to fight like hell to uh, to try to make it. So that's it. Okay. Hi, Larry. Alex. Hi, Larry. I really want to see the movie about your life. You're a good man. Well, my life. It's the reason they wanted it to be a TV series is because every time I spoke with them, what's in the book is bullshit. What's in the book is easily verified, and it's just bullshit stories that they're exciting and everything to the average guy, but it's behind the scenes. It's in between and what goes that like any one of them. Take any chapter. Take the Nicky Barnes chapter. You can make a fucking movie just out of that the time I spent with Nicky Barnes and what we did. You can make a whole thing, and there's 15 to 20 of them incidents aside from what I did. But along the way, when they start asking me, when I start rambling on, and they found out all the good that I did and helping, and I hate to say that because it sounds like I'm bragging, but Nicholas Pileggi, who wrote Goodfellas, he was my writer, and he says, no, we got to bring this out. He says we're gonna get to the point where the whole world is going to be rooting for you because how all the things that happen. It's not only bad. It's only bad in the book, but it's not only bad. So it'd be a real good movie. Unfortunately, COVID happened, and then right after COVID, my friend who's going to make the movie, who just won the Academy Award for the movie Green Book, Val Longo, Nick and Frank, he died of an overdose of fentanyl. So that ended. Then the writer's strike, then the actor's strike, then the union strike, and we're right up to today. So it would have happened a long time ago, but we'll see. Hello, everyone. Hi, Larry Cox. Okay. Clyde Burrow. Yogi Berra was Lawrence. Yeah, that was his name, I think. He was an Italian, of course. Yep. Yep. What what's the better car, Cadillac or Lincoln? I had both them cars, most of my whole life. I always bought a Cadillac or Lincoln. I like the Cadillac better only because the Lincoln was such a smooth ride. I think it's because they had four coil springs, and when you went around a corner, the body kind of swayed a little bit, and I didn't like that. But the Lincoln had a better ride. But back then, the Cadillac I think was a better car. Today, the best car on the road by far for the average person is the Lexus by far. It's not even close. And then that's you go into the Mercedes and everything. But for the regular working guy like myself, I have one of the bullshit cars. I have a Kia and a Nissan, and so them are the best cars for the average guy. Kia, Nissan, all the little bullshit cars. But the best car on the road, if you can afford it, is a Lexus. The big Lexus rides just as good as the 500 Mercedes. Okay, here's Cookie. That's right, cuz we're here for you anytime. Yes, yep. What good kids. What a good family. What's sad is that I grew up the way I grew up, 100 miles an hour, always doing something, was always on the road. Even when they had parties and get-togethers, I was never there because I was always doing my own thing and never was really, really close with any of them. But I tell you, as soon as something happens, they're there. What a great family. And I don't even know if I'm sure other families are like that too. I'm sure everybody has the best mother, everybody has the best father. But, you know, I could tell you one thing. My father loved me to death. That when I told him he couldn't come to the racetrack no more, he, you heard that story. He just sat down and died. He just, fuck, that's how much he loved me. And my mother, Tommy LaCasey, told me that I'm breaking her heart. And, you know, it is what it is. I'm just, you know, and I don't know. Now I'm 85. How the fuck do you make it up? You know, how do you make it up? There's no way to make it up. But I don't know. I don't know what to do, how to do it, and that's why when what happened to me last week, when I come out of the hospital with nowhere to go, and enough medicine for 5 days, and all of a sudden people come to my house and every fucking problem I have is solved. It's, I don't know how to explain it. I tell you, I told you, I never cried in my life. I cried for 3 days. Every time I got to stop talking about it. Like, it's something. Okay, Gracie, Larry, I'm going to be 78. I'm not. I'm going to be 78. Yeah, I know. But that's how I called you, little Gracie. Yeah, she's such a good kid. All pretty, beautiful kids. Oh, oh boy. Larry, we were always here for you, like you were always there for us. Yeah. Okay. Are you, Josh Foster? Are you able to get bets down in the Bahamas? I don't know what their laws are. I don't know. I don't bet anymore. I haven't watched a sporting event since 1972. You know, that's it. I don't. So I don't know. I don't even go to races. Even when Eddie has horses racing, I think I watched one or two races because they gave me the thing to watch it on the television here. But I don't know. I don't bet no more. Okay, Tony, trotters or paces? Which did you prefer? It didn't make much difference to me because most of my life I got in trouble early on. Early on, you know, it was a year or two before Tannenbaum threw me out, and then I went for like 8 years at all these Mickey Mouse racetracks, and all I did was trying to stay alive, stay afloat. It didn't make any difference, and then the only time it started to make a difference was when because in the 70s all I did was fix races and do everything. It made no difference if you're gonna had a 3 to 5 shot and you're gonna be out of the money. It didn't make no difference if you was a trotter or a pacer. But once 78 come and I turned my life around, and Slutsky and Dancer helped me and gave me the first bunch of horses and helped me get many more horses, then I start really paying attention, and I really enjoyed. What I enjoyed more, it didn't make much difference. You know, I had a couple of good paces, a couple of good trotters, but what I enjoyed more was the challenge. I love to try to find the lameness problem, fix it. That's the first thing I looked at. When I got another horse or bought another horse, I'd stay in the stall with him for an hour, and I would jog him every day myself until I knew everything about him. And but once everything is settled and everything else, when I drove MMF, naturally I gave him the Hervé because I couldn't race in New York. When I drove him, he was like a Cadillac. He win 10, 11 races in a row. And you know, I had him and one or two other trotters. In fact, the guy that's head of the USTA now, Joe Feraldo, the first horse he ever drove I gave him it. Was a horse, I forgot the horse, Viking Dart. He was a trotter, beautiful. Joe says Joe was all nervous. His first fair drive. He says, "You going to be all right? What do I have to do?" I says, "Just don't fall off. Don't worry about it." And it's nice. They like fucking glide. It's beautiful. But I think if I had my choice today, it don't make no difference because I paid more attention to fine tuning them and fixing them. But I think I think I think probably if I was going to get back into the business, like Stanley Dancer told me this just before he passed on. He says, if you get back into the business, he says, just buy one or two trotters for yourself. Because back then it was easy because sometimes, you get in the trot race and maybe two or three horses are eliminated behind the gate or all going into the first turn. They make breaks. But now they don't make breaks no more. And so I don't know. A lot of the top guys really like trotters. And it was because if you come up with a good trotter, it's a lot easier to come up with not easier, but I don't know how to say it. If you have a good trotter, it's worth more than a good pacer. I think I said that right. Okay. Francis, all the best, Larry. Always in my prayers, champ. Thank you, Francis. You know, when I won the Cane Pace in 1981, I think it was 82. I don't even know. But anyway, I won the Cane Pace. Yeah, it was in 81 because Stanley 78 was when I turned my life around. I won the Cane Pace in 1981, and I was starting on my way up the ladder to get with the good guys and try to make up for all the bad shit I did and welcome the second chance. I had a party, and everybody can tell you this because it's true. I won't tell you the whole story, but I wind up renting the whole Concord Hotel. I had horses with Bobby Parker at the time I owned the Concord. And I rented, he used to close it up right around Christmas time for general clean up the whole. So, and he closed for 10 days. And I told him, Bobby, I said, look, I tried renting Madison Square Garden. I tried renting. I have no place to put these people because I'm having a Christmas party and I have like almost 3,000 people I wanted. The bottom line was he rented me the hotel for the whole 3 days. I had a party. It cost me close to $1 million, but I couldn't have 3,000 people. I could only have 1,100, and we had to cut it down to 1,100. But that's what I would love to do. If it ever happens where I beat this thing, and something happens with the movie or something happens with this cap, I will have another big party for everybody, for everybody. And that's what I'd like to do. Have a nice big band there, have just a good time for a couple of days. So whatever money I had, that's what I would do. I would love to do that. Okay. Freddie Hudson, today you as a member of Harness Racing Alumni, we were able without any fanfare to prevent horses from being in the bad place. With the help of TC Lane, we got the horses out of fed and water. Well, good for you. See, Freddie does all of that stuff. That's what I mean about Freddie. The guy worked for years, 10 years, 12 years in Washington trying to help the sport, trying to help harness racing. And that's why I asked to contribute when he was making these tributes to everybody. I asked to, help the guy out because everything he did for free. Imagine going to Washington, being a lobbyist for this industry for free, every day for free. I asked him, how the fuck do you live? How do you pay your bills? How do you do that? And his answer was, it's tough, but you manage, you do what you have to do. But what fucking dedication! He's just a good guy, just a good guy. Anyway, and now he's doing this. All of this is for free. Everything he's doing is for free. I called him up this afternoon because I emailed him something about 6 months ago and I needed it, and he emailed it. He emailed it back to me, but he was out. He was out trying to help this industry. Okay. Fred Hudson's clean. Okay, that's the whole thing. Yeah. Ted, don't fuck with Larry Rolla. It's a bad idea. Don't fuck with Larry Rolla. It's a bad idea. It's how the fuck could you be a man? How could you be a man and not defend your manhood? How the fuck do you do that? How do you make somebody come to you and say, this guy said this and this and this and this about you. He's trashing you all over the place. How the fuck do you not go to see that guy? How do you not do that? I don't understand. I don't understand. And I hate to keep saying, because it sounds like a fucking threat. I don't threat. I just do. I don't do. I don't threat. I just fucking do it. But I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't get it. And I'm not a tough guy. It's just that, look, hey, look, I got more fucking beatings than anybody else growing up. I took the fucking lumps, like I said. I walked into more fucking sit downs and everything. And when I was wrong, I took it. I took it. I mean, my fucking face ain't. I mean, there's hunks and pieces that are not really me here, you know. Anyway, my money on Larry to tear him a new asshole. Well, I'm 85 years old. No, my idea. I'll tell you, I'm going up there with a bat. I can't. I can't. I mean, if I ever threw a fucking punch, my fucking arm would fly off. I can't fight. I can't breathe. I can't do nothing. But I remember how to swing a bat, and that's what I'm going up there with, a bat. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I'm not embarrassed to say it. Even if he says, "Yeah, I'll fight you fair and square in the street," I would have to do it. I would never back down, but I'd probably lose. I can't breathe, but I would do it. But then I'd come back the next day with a fucking bat. Okay, let's go. Hey, Larry, I worked for Buddy Gilmore long ago. There was an old drunk guy working in the barn next to us for Roland Kruger. Buddy said he was the best driver he ever saw. His name was Bobby Frame. Bobby Frame worked for Paul Vineyard, I think, way back. Bobby Frame was he was probably unbelievable, but you could never tell because he was stone drunk all the time. He was drunk. I remember one year, it was at Green Mountain Park. He was there. He was so fucking drunk that he fell. We put him in the seat in the bike. They didn't take tests back then, and we put him in the bike, handed him the lines, and he fell in between. He fell forward. He fell in between the horse. He got all tangled up, got busted up. We caught the horse, and everything was fine. He was all busted up, bleeding, teeth knocked out. Got right on back on the fucking bike and won the race. He was a very very good driver, and a very thin guy, very thin, probably weighed 100 pounds. But yeah, he was a good. There was a lot of good guys. Okay, let's see. Bobby Frame, great driver. Yes. Tony, was the crowd at the Little Brown Jug surprising to you, or were you used to it from racing at Roosevelt? No, it wasn't surprising to me, first of all, but second of all, I never had much time to do anything because what happened in the first heat, Jimmy Marone hit the horse with the whip, and the tracer, the snapper at the end of the whip, cut that big artery that runs down. The horse was bleeding, and so I spent the whole time trying to get ice and trying to stop the bleeding, and no vendor there would give me any ice, and it was just a mess. And I had about an hour and a half to try to stop the bleeding, and the vets gave me a bunch of cauterizing sticks and everything. I was shoving everything in there, and thank God, by the time the final come up, I had the bleeding stopped, and he wound up racing, but then he got in the accident. So I really didn't have time to enjoy any of the hot dogs or anything that was there. Eric, final comment. I just saw on Facebook this Mike Pirelli not only bashes you, but William O'Donnell too. Pirelli sounds like scum. You know, I'm going to tell you something. I better not. The reason I better not is because I better not. Did you ever compete against Jack Bailey? I know he raced at Vernon. No, you're right. He raced at Vernon mostly. I was in Monticello. No, I raced against him, but not on a regular basis. I was, I always stayed at Monticello. That's where I had to stay. Okay, folks. There's no more comments. I said hello to everybody. I thank you all for putting up with me. I thank you for coming on. And it's really nice to have something like this, because if we didn't do this, we wouldn't know each other. We wouldn't, and it's great that I was able to hook up with a lot of you that I haven't seen in 30, 40, 50 years. And Joe is right. Joe is right. Freddie's right. Everybody's right. I shouldn't let this motherfucker fucking aggravate me. Because I just shouldn't. I just shouldn't. I got to concentrate on me. I owe it to the girl that stayed with me for 45 years through everything. The girl that cleaned houses so I could have a fucking apartment instead of getting off so I can get off the park bench. That's what I got. I can't worry about this fucking scumbag and wind up in maybe in jail or whatever, So maybe you know what? Maybe I'll just take back everything I said, because in reality I'll be gone anyway, and I don't even know if I'll make it back here. So I'm going to the Bahamas. I got to stay there for a month, and it's 50-50, I guess, if I even make it back here. So why should I make these fucking comments like another keyboard tough guy when I may not be back? So I'm going to take back everything I said. I'm going to, Pacelli or whatever your name is, I can only tell the people that are listening that you're just a fucking low-life scumbag. That's it. And that's verified by your own family. And you're a lucky guy. You're a lucky guy, even though statute of limitations is over. But even if it wasn't, I would never bring it up. You're a fucking pedophile. You're a sick fucking man. And that's terrible. And I only hope, and it bothers me because there's people around you up there in Goshen that could rip your fucking head off. People that you're abusing. And for the life of me, I don't want to mention these two guys up there. They're stable right at Goshen. And everybody knows who they are. And one guy is the guy that don't take no shit. I mean, but nobody grabs him. Nobody fucking grabs him. How the fuck could you not grab him, tie him up, and throw him in a manure pile, leave him there over the weekend? How could you do that? And then come back Monday morning and turn them loose and say, you mention my name one more time, and you'll be right back here. What the fuck are you going to do, tough guy? What are you going to do? You have no fucking idea. You have no idea. I can't go there. That's it. I can't go there. One more thing here. Larry, I saw an interview with John Manzi, and he said, why would Jeb Sire was free-legged? Do you believe that in the breeding? I never heard of that before being passed on. Yeah, his sire was a free-legged pacer. What the fuck? I forgot. This is crazy because, why would Jeb Sire was... He was free-legged. I forgot. I don't know. I forgot. I know, but I forgot. I forgot. Yeah, a lot of that stuff is hereditary with horses, and through the years, they. I remember years and years ago, you could identify, but like all Tar Heels, they had low heels. They had 47 angle in front on their foot. They all had low heels and long toes. That was Tar Heels. They all have certain things that and then little by little, they start breeding all the lameness and conformation flaws out of the horses, and the breed got better and better and better, and there was less horses with bow tendons, because you used to hear back in the 50s and 60s, and even in the 70s, that breed is that line is prone to quarter cracks, or that line is prone to bow tendons or whatever. But they breed a lot of that stuff out. These breeders are pretty sharp, so they breed a lot of that stuff out. And And so it's just better. Oh, here it is, Steady Star. Right, that's it, Gregory, the Steady Star. That was Wildwood Jeb Sire, Steady Star. He was free-legged. And I'm going to tell you something else about Steady Star. This is a true story, and I hope I get it right. I think I get it right. And the one who knows is Michael LaChance, and I'm almost positive this is true. In fact, I'm 100% positive it's true because I talked about it once and Michael verified it. He was on the show and he verified it. I bought Theodore Diamond from Mike Gagliotti. I won't go into that whole story. I have to go into it a little bit. Mike Gagliotti would come to me one day at Freehold, and he says to me, he says, Larry, I have a horse. It's with Ralph Picaro, who was a lawyer. He says, and I had a fight with him, and he wants to get rid of the horse and everything else. You buy it for $10,000. He says, and give me the money because he owes me $6,000 in bills. So I gave him the money, and this was right at the racetrack. I had the money. I cashed the check. McClune okayed the check. I gave it to Mike. Now he tells me what stall the horse is in. So I go down to the stall after the races, and the horse is laying on the ground, and he's shaking. He's traumatized. He's in shock. Thank God Joe DeLeo was still there after the races, and we stood up all day, all that night, into the next day with fluids, giving him fluids and everything, and that's some painkillers and everything. By the next morning, he was okay, and when everything started wearing off, he would just pick up his leg like this. And what had happened is that the horse hadn't raced in about maybe 3-4 months because he had fractured a sesamoid bone. For those of you who don't know, a sesamoid bone is just a little bone. There's 2 little bones in the back where the tendons run, the ligaments run over. I can't get into that. But anyway, one of them little fracture. So they laid him up, and when it healed, the calcium, he healed the bone, but it created a little spur. And that little spur, what runs over the sesamoid bone is one, it's like a straw. And in that straw is a ligament, a little ligament, a blood vessel, and a nerve. And that little spur used to hit the nerve. And that's what the problem was. Now, so I own the horse. What are you going to do? So I told Joe, I says, this is, so anyway, the bottom line was I cut the only way we could save the horse was we cut him high. We had to cut him above the knee, and which Joe didn't want to do. But I says, Joe, you either cut him above the knee or put him down. Yeah, I can't. So anyway, he says, you got to promise me that you won't race him and you're going to retire him and everything else. And yeah. Just cut. So he cuts him. He denerves him above the knee. Now the problem was that he was a big horse. He was a gelding, and he just a typical horse. You can't leave him in the stall for a month or 2 months. You got to take him out. The problem was when you took him out, his leg was from the knee down was like a piece of spaghetti. It would fall and have no. He wouldn't. It was like it was numb. Like when you go get your teeth shot, you can't talk. Everything is all fucked up. So what I did was I put a keg shoe on him. A keg shoe is a very, very heavy shoe. I kept the keg shoe on him with toe weights around and a heavy bell boot. And this way the weight would make it come up and down on a straight angle. So that's what happened. And then little by little, I was able to walk them around and everything, keep them on tranquilizers. They had a 30-day tranquilizer that they kept them on, and we would walk them around and everything. And then pretty soon he was able to walk with no problem, and I eliminated the belt boot and everything. Okay, so time goes on. So now Lincoln Downs opens. So I put the horses down, and I put Theodore Diamond down to get a stall. So they give me a stall for Theodore Diamond. That's the horse that is, that's just learning how to walk. So they give me the stall. So now we get to Lincoln Downs, and who's there but me, Mike LaChance, Henry Fillion, Bucky Day, and one other guy. I forgot the guy's name. Anyway, the race office calls me up, and they says, "Listen," he says, "we have an open pace here that we have to go with because LeChance and Filion and they all have a horse that fits the open. And the reason I gave you the stall because we need Theodore Diamond. He on paper he fit with that crew. So I couldn't tell him that the horse was. I couldn't say nothing. So I says, okay, use them. And I says, but give me a couple of weeks. I stalled for a couple of weeks. I said, but give me a couple of weeks because he was sick. And naturally with Chance and them guys wanted to race their horse. It was their best horse. So anyway, now I have a couple of weeks to try to get this horse to go. So now I hook him up to a jaw cut. The first day he fell, this and that, but little by little, I won't get. But then I put him in to go. A couple of weeks later, 2-3 weeks later, and now he's going and with a keg shoe on the whole bit, and he's going, and these paces, I think if I'm not wrong, they were going around 59 2 minutes at Lincoln Downs. So I finish last every week, holding them together, yelling the whole mile. Yeah, you just keep and it would go. And every week, and then in between, that's where I would jog him and train him. And every week he got better and better and better and better. And then one day he was really, really good. The week before, I just chased him down the stretch. I was last. I was 2-3 less behind the last horse. I just chased him. He come a quarter like in 27 seconds, the last quarter. Unbelievable. And he was good. So I says, fuck it, I'm going to take a chance. So next week, and this is what Mike verified, right on the show, he verified this. Mike LeChance. And so next week comes, and I don't know how to say this without getting people in trouble, but because there were 5 horses. And without saying much, everybody knew the same course can't win every week because after 2-3 wins, then you got to eliminate the race, and you can't do that. So all the drivers knew that. So one guy win one week, one guy win another week, and I think I'm not saying that's what they did, but because I just finished last every week. But one week comes, and I told my groom, who took the horse to the paddock, was Fritzy, Frenchman. And I says, listen, he says, I better not get into that. But anyway, so the race goes off. I bet on my horse. The race goes off, and I leave. I had the outside position. I leave with him. I says, fuck it. If he's going to go down, let him go down early. And if he makes the top, I leave out and he makes the top. That means I could probably hold them together. So I leave. I make the top, and now everybody tries to come back around me. So they come back. 2 guys come back around me. Now at the head of the stretch, well, right around the 5/8 pole, or a little after that. Now I got a ton of horse, and I wind up at the head of the stretch. I'm climbing all over them, and I get free, and I win by open lengths. And they called me up. I can't think of the magazine that called me up. They did a whole middle page spread on him, and they want to interview me. And then they canceled everything. You know why? Because Steady Star did a time trial that day, and it was like 152 or whatever it was. So they stopped my story. They canceled that whole thing of mine, and they went with Steady Star. So that's what happened. And that's the Theodore Diamond story, verified by Michael LeChance. Because some of these stories are hard to believe. Let's see. Joe says, Larry, you should write another book. I tell you, I had, because this book here is really, it's okay. It's just, I guess because everybody really, this book here, it's been out now 7 years. They're still selling thousands of copies of this thing. And if you look it up on Amazon, I have like 50 or 100 write-ups in there. People respond, all 5-star stuff. So they love this kind of stuff. But if I ever wrote another book, it would be my life either before I got into the horse business, which would be a major story, or after. Either one would be. One was when I was a kid, and like I said, the only time I ever got in trouble was when I went with Joe Stump, who was my partner when we got caught, when I got the beating, and then I did everything by myself all the way up until well. So anyway, either one. If I wrote a book about the early life or my later life, it'd be a bestseller. Because when I was talking with Pileggi and them guys about writing this, and they says, if this got to be a TV series, you go into it. You say, okay, what happened now? You got barred. What'd you do after you get barred? How'd you wind up having the biggest show in Orlando? How'd you wind up with the biggest furniture company in North Carolina? How'd you wind up with this? How'd you wind up with that? Interesting stuff. How'd you wind up with the biggest nightclub in Manhattan, 46th Street, the Supper Club? How'd you wind up with that? How'd you get that? How'd you do this? How'd you do that? Major stuff that unbelievable. That I just did it. They're unbelievable books. Any one of them things. How I got the Lacoste show on that Disney World. The guy, I forgot his name, and I was friends with him. He used to have 30, 40 people come every night to see the biggest show. Out of all the shows in Disney World, all them shows, that whole town, they have there were 11 tour companies that brought 500 people every day to see different shows. My show was classified the best show. Freak accident happened that why I wind up losing the property, because the guy owed $5 million to it's a whole story, but it wasn't my fault. I lost it. But these are the things that very, very exciting things. How, and very, 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 very exciting things and unbelievable things that happen. And that's why I say all this little nickel and dime shit, it don't bother me. It's all part of life. You go, because I've been into so many different things. I'm just too old fashioned. I guess a guy like me, and it's not only me, it's the people I sit with and have coffee with, that they agree with me. I'm not the only one. I'm not that fucking old, but that these guys in their 70s and 60s that agree with me, that these little fucking punks in the street, they're 15, they shoot you with a fucking gun, they get a reputation, they think who the fuck you are, or even the gangs. I mean, when we were kids, we fought one-on-one. Now all of a sudden, whether it's the mob or gang or whoever, they show up with 30 fucking guys. Mob guys, they can show up with 3-4 guys. So it's just different. Anyway, let's see. Oh, Marcy, love you. Hope someone will keep your many fans up to date while you are away from us. We are truly concerned and worried. Wishing you all the best. I'm going to do the podcast from down there. I'm doing a podcast, my friend. I have a laptop. He set it all up for me, and I'm going to do the podcast from down there, because I'll probably be, I don't know if I'll be alone. I guess everybody's going to wind up coming down there, but I'm going to do the podcast from down there. That'll be interesting, because I'm just learning how to do this stuff, so it'll be fun. Freddie Hudson, Larry, you did the best one-man show ever. Oh, thank you, Freddie. Maybe I'll go on the road, huh? Oh, boy. Hey, all. David Arthur. What's this one? Larry, who was the driver that ran over the money? Did you teach him a lesson? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's the problem I had with Fat Tony Schuler. We were in Lincoln Downs. No, yeah, no. We were in Lincoln Downs. Is that the track? Boy, I'm getting bad. Anyway, he come to me. He come to me the first day I was there. See, then I have to go into all these stories. Anyway, we come to the first day I was there. You, Larry Rolla, yeah, we were on all the racetracks around there. Now, one that was I wound up getting involved with him fixing races, and he and we were making a lot of money. And he's the one that got me addicted to sports betting because he was with Whitey Bulger, and they were fixing all these games, these pro college games and these college games, and we were fixing races and doing well because everybody up there was broke. And but one day, one of the guys ran over the money. And he went back there and beat the shit out of the guy. And I found out about it the next day, and I told him, I says, you can't do that. First of all, they're going to go to the commission. You're going to get yourself in trouble. You're going to fuck up because we were making a lot of money because everybody was broke, and we were giving them $500 to be worse than third when they were going to be worse than third anyway. But we would lock up the race and just get three guys out of it. Sometimes they got lucky, got 4 guys out of it, and box the other 4. And just try to double your money, but you do it 3-4 races a night. It's considerable, especially for a small track. So that's what we were doing and doing well. I mean, I left Lincoln Downs with $30,000-$40,000 when prior to that I didn't have 30-40 cents. I was eating fucking pigeons. So one day the guy runs over to me, and I says, "You can't do that." He says, "I took the fucking money." I said, "You can't do that. These things happen. You're not out there. These things happen. Sometimes you find yourself in a spot you don't want to be there. You don't want to run over the money." There's a book I have over here. He called me up too. The pastor. He was a driver, and he ran over the money. This is not with me. Before me, he beat the shit out of the guy. I wish I was going to talk about it. The book is right there. He wrote a book. What's the name of the book? Tony beat the shit out of him so bad that he retired. He ran away. He got up the money and he paid him back and he retired. He became a pastor. And I had him on a show. He called up, and I was supposed to have him on the show, call back, but I never did call back. But that's how he was. And I told Tony when we got to New York, I told him. He followed me here. I didn't want him no more because I was on my way. I had but I told him you can't do that because these guys they don't want to. Sometimes you find yourself in a position you can't help it. You let it go and you make it up the next race. The next race you don't get no money, but he finishes out of the money. You let it go. But he had that fucking bullshit. He took my fucking money. Nobody that kind of attitude. And he did it. And that was the problem because when we got to New York with all these New York jockeys, they were 2 jockeys. It's all in the book. I can't remember the names. And then there's the fucking mystery of the one guy that he fucking beat the shit out of, and he still wouldn't do it. And he went to the commission, and then next thing you know, they found his car and him in the car dead on the parkway. So there's that was Tony Schuler. He was just one of them fucking guys that nobody takes my fucking money. He had a good thing going, and he did because for 4 years. We made millions of dollars. It's all in the book. It's all in the paper. It's all true, and that's what got me through. But just like a fucking wannabe tough guy, and he wasn't a wannabe tough guy. He was the guy who fixed all the races for Whitey Bulger. Whitey Bulger was the stone fucking lunatic killer, and so you had to be you had to be a little careful. But I hooked him up with Conor Rico, who was Anthony, who's on the show, his uncle, and that's another thing because now it's fucking verified because now somebody I know who was the key here, and the only reason I didn't go to jail was because of Conor Rico, because he was the only one that could have put me in jail, and he was hooked up with some guys from Staten Island that he was also I was fixing the races, but he was telling his friends that he was with the mob guys. So I didn't care as long as just don't abuse it. We got a good thing going, and he made a tape. They interviewed him, after and he admitted all of this, and I was shocked that it was now the reason I'm not in jail is because he took the rap. He went to jail, I think, for 7 years. He took the rap for everything and never said nothing. If he said if he could, he's the only one that could have put me in jail, but he didn't. He took the pinch, and he never said a word. It was I'd be in jail. Okay, let's see. Larry, who was the driver that ran over the money to you? No, you don't. When that happens, you just let it go. Make it up. Make it up. David Arthur, my prayers always include Larry. Thank you very much. There's two things that I become aware of in the last week is and the two things that I never did. Say the word love or pray. And now like I changed my life in 78, and now I'm just improving it because there has to be a God, because there is no way that somebody could live the life and do the things that I did and be alive. There's no fucking way. No way. There's people, and I'm sure a lot of people know, these people that did 1/100th of what I did, that were thrown off buildings, hanging out windows, dead. I could name a bunch of them, but I won't. But I'm here. And maybe because I showed up every time. Just like in that little 5-minute thing that I made. I made a 5-minute video of the opening scene of the movie. And it said, I always show when the guy says, well, you told me why I shouldn't blow your fucking head off is because I always showed up. And little Sammy says, we got $1 million of his money in the last 4 months. He always showed up. He was never late. He was never short. And that was it. But there were times when it wasn't like that. And then you take the lumps. Because believe me, back then, hey, look, when I walked into 114 precinct with Detective Sands, who beat the shit out of me, the first thing he did was take the pair of pliers out. He's looking for a fucking nail. He found my pinky nail. He ripped it off. Back then, it wasn't like it was today. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to this. You have the right to that. At that point, you can even spit in the cop's face, and they can't do nothing. They don't do nothing. You have the right to do this. You're right. If they bring you in an interrogation room, when they brought me in, they fucking almost killed me. And now all you have to do is say I want an attorney, and nothing happened. So it's a whole different world. It's just different. But my whole life is, like I said earlier, my whole life I've been running 100 miles an hour, always doing something, and never really paying attention until now. Now that I pay attention, you're laying in that fucking hospital bed all by yourself, staring at the ceiling, and you think about this shit. You think about God had to play a part in this. God had to do this and this. I'm the only guy. And everybody around here will tell you, I'm the only guy living that ever took a shot at Bobby Cabert that's alive. I'm the only one. And it wasn't just a shot. It was 320,000. And he says it. And I put it in the thing. He says, we were doing business. We never had a problem. You could have come to me with anything, naturally, because I was losing all this money. But that's what he said. He says, we could have straightened everything out. He says, instead, you pull a scumbag move. You pull a scumbag move. You run away to Florida and you take a shot at me. I don't understand. I don't believe it. You know who I am. You know what I do. And you know there's not a motherfucker around that ever took a shot at me that's alive today. And that's the truth. But yet I live. So there has to be a God. Because he was just a Mad Hatter. So, you lay around, you think about it, and you say, and then you start thinking a little away from that. How did the universe, how did this, how did the stars, how did this, how did that? And somebody had to do it. How do you lay there in the doctor's office and you see all these charts on the walls with your skeleton and the whole anatomy of yourself with nerves, and you say, how the fuck did this happen, God? God had to put it together. Just everything had to be. There has to be a God. I never thought about God my whole life until recently. I never said the word love until Cookie called me and told me to stop, don't kill myself. So them are two things that happened in the last week, two that I never thought of. Now I just have to get myself, and I can't find myself. I just can't. I don't know if I could. I never kneeled on my knees to pray. I made my communion and confirmation because my mother made us go to school. I did that, but after that, I never went back to church. I never paid attention. I don't know if now I could, when I'm in the Bahamas, get down on my knees and pray that something good could happen for me. And never, I don't know if I could do that. Maybe I'll try. I don't know. But anyway, that's enough of that gloomy stuff. I can't. Okay, and some more big. Michael Hole, John and Mary Carter. Michael Hole is the jockey. John and Mary Carter. This guy must sell in glass. He must know something. That was a jockey. That was a jockey that got killed. That was dead. On the. He must know something. Sheldon. No, that's Sheldon. I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. Okay. I forgot. I think it was Michael Hole who was the jockey that refused to take the money, then testified in front of the judge. I forgot. In fact, I think it's in my book. But I right now I forgot. I don't know if it's Michael Hole or Amy or one of them guys. I don't know. Okay, let's see. God is with you always, champ. Thank you. I believe that now. And Joe Guarino been telling me that for a while. So whatever. Manny Cigars, what's up, Larry? Thinking about you always. Haven't called you because I don't want to bother you, but I do think about you. Love you. Oh, thank you, Manny. You're a good guy, Manny. Okay, folks, that's it. I have to go. The pills are wearing off, and I want to try to go to sleep. Thank you for putting up with my bullshit. I retract everything I said about that fucking scumbag because he's probably is mentally sick. So how do you hurt somebody who's sick? Just let him do his thing, and I got to worry about all the people who cared for me, who want to help me. That's what I'm going to do. So I retract all of that stuff. I'm sorry because now I'm thinking about it, and I'm embarrassed because now I acted like a fucking asshole. I acted like him. That's stupid. But to me, it's not stupid. To me, it's justice. It's the right thing. You're straightening out a wrong that shouldn't happen. You can't fucking abuse ladies. You can't abuse people. You can't abuse girls. You can't abuse nothing. You're a loser. You never made it in any business. You robbed everybody. You stole everybody. You robbed your mother. So why the fuck would I jeopardize the few days or weeks or whatever I have left to crack your fucking skull? So I take back everything I said. And that's it. Everybody, thank you so much for listening to my. I think I have all of it out of me now. You all know how I feel and how grateful I am for all the support. And that's it. And Jesse Black just come on. He says, "Good night, all. Thanks for coming in for Larry." Okay, folks. Good night, everybody, and I'll see you Tuesday. No, I don't think I could do a show Tuesday because Tuesday I'm meeting with these people, the investors for the movie. So I won't be doing the show Tuesday. And then after that, I'll probably do one Thursday. And then after that, I'll be in the Bahamas, and then we're going to try to do it. But I don't know how you find out about it, but I know how to put it on Facebook or whatever. I know how to do that. So you just look for it, and that's it. And thank you all for coming and caring. And like I said before, I only hope that everybody that has this terrible disease gets the same love and support that I got. See, that's the third time in my life I said the word love. So I'm changing, and like I said, since 1978, I changed my life around, and I deserve I deserve a second chance, and I deserve respect. I've been 100%, and that's why when this Michael guy, I don't even know what the fuck he's going to talk. What could he possibly say about me? I don't know. I don't know, but I'm not gonna do nothing. I'm gonna take care of myself. I'm gonna live. Now, if 2 or 3 years from now I beat the cancer and I'm in good shape and I run across him, that might be a different story. But for now, that's it. Okay, folks, thank you for showing up. Good night, everybody, and I'll see you all not this Tuesday because I'm going to meet some investors, and that's it. Thank you all for showing up, and geez, I gotta say I love you all. Good night.